Welcome to the weekly game plan with Cannon Planning. If you are in direct sales, if you're working on goals, if you're working on habits, you're managing tasks, you're going to want to come and hang out with me every single Monday at this time and place, whether you are watching me on Facebook Live or whether you are following and streaming along on YouTube. Thank you for joining me for our weekly game plan. So over the course of October, we have been talking about spooktacular habits, how to create them, how to make them, what to do with them. Today, we're going to talk about something that probably a lot of people miss out on and or struggle with, and that's what happens when the world falls apart around you. We have all been there. We have all experienced this. This is all something that we have all been able to live through. I, myself included, have had moments when I've struggled with habits that I've created because they have turned out not to be the right ones. Or I have taken time to not think through the process all the way, and therefore they're not the right ones that match what I'm working on. Or life happens. And I can tell you, friends, from experience that when life happens, it has a tendency to derail you. So I want to take some time today to talk about that specifically, what to do when your habits are not keeping you motivated. So we're going to dive right in. First thing we're going to do is recognize when it gets tough. I know that you guys, probably many of you have heard, the first thing is acceptance, right? You are starting a process, and the first thing that you do is accept the way that things are. Same thing happens with habits and habit tracking, is that we have to recognize when things are difficult, when you start to feel that overwhelm, when life is throwing curveballs at you and you're like, I'm not quite ready for this. I need to make some changes. Maybe if progress is going slower than what you anticipated it to go, that might be something that you're feeling as well. And so we're all there. We're all experiencing that. We've all recognized that. And the first thing that we need to do is accept that, oh, maybe this isn't the right direction that I need to go, or I need to take a step back. One thing that we can do to help overcome this is to break the habits down even smaller. Now, last week we talked about an example of maybe building out your business and working on having to do more contacts and things like that. Maybe your original and necessary habit was to be in contact with 5 people every single day throughout your business. And maybe that's just really overwhelming to you, and you cannot physically do 5 people or mentally have conversations with 5 people every day. And so you need to reevaluate that specific habit. And one thing that you can do is break it down a little bit smaller. If 5 isn't working for you, then go with 2. This is a great opportunity for you to, one, find out what your breaking point is. And 2, recognize that breaking point, right? Step number 1 was to recognize when things are not working the way they're supposed to. So when we are setting our goals, we might set them very, very high and expect those things to happen to their fruition, and therefore get burnt out or get overwhelmed or have that feeling of wanting to give up. No need to give up. We're just going to break that down a little bit further and take smaller bites and try that to see if that works on getting you where you need to go. The next thing is focus on rewards, no matter how small. Now, in my membership group, we often talk about our dots, and earning a dot at the end of the day may not seem like this huge thing, but for us, it has become something that is very rewarding. And maybe not in the moment, but when you look back over the course of the month and you're working on something and you're really diving in and you're feeling the struggle, but you're also pushing through that struggle, and you look back at the end of the month and you go, oh my gosh, I got almost all my dots for the course of the month. That means that you showed up for yourself, for your business, for whatever habit it is that you're tracking over the course of the full month, and you gave yourself that little pat on the back because you rewarded yourself with those dots. And now you can look back and you can see the progress that you have made. So it might be small and it might be trivial, but either way, I want you to focus on the reward, because no matter how small it is, it's going to be important to you at the end. Maybe not right now, but at the end it will be. One thing that we can do when we are working on our spooktacular habits is to remember why we started in the first place. Often when things drown us down or drag us down and we get frustrated with where we might be and what we're experiencing or the progress we are or we aren't making, we may not have that necessarily tied to our why correctly. Why did you start to begin with? Did you start it to have better connection with your customers, to build your business out further, to maybe hit an incentive or a rank advancement? Those things are really important, and it's a carrot that you might be chasing, but for you, there might be an internal why that you may not have connected yet. So I would urge you, before you make huge changes or give up on your habits, to go back and reflect on why you started this journey in the first place. Why was it important to you? What is it that you were trying to get to the end result? And take a look at that before you throw in the towel and say, this really just isn't for me. We talked about this a little bit earlier, adjust when necessary. But the other thing that you need to think about is don't be afraid to start over. Just because you broke the chain doesn't mean that you can't get back on the horse and start over. It doesn't mean that, when you miss that one day, that's it, your habit is broken. No. How many of you have heard the quote, I fall down 7 times, but I get up 8? It is the same thing with your habits. You might have an amazing streak going and you might miss one day because life happens, or you had something that you weren't expecting, or you forgot, because that happens too. We get busy and we forget about the things that we wanted to do because we didn't write it down in our planner, or we didn't check in on our planner even though we had it written down. Those things happen. It doesn't mean that we can't start it again. You just start and you move forward with that. Prime example, my son was home over this last week for fall break from college, and that's where my treadmill is stored. I have not been on the treadmill since he's been home, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get out there and get things done. It's on my list of things to do today because I need to restart that goal and that habit that I was working on and find some kind of way to adjust that in the future. Okay. This one is probably the biggest one for me personally and for my membership group, is check in with yourself or a partner regularly. Have an accountability partner or have an accountability team. We have in our membership group an accountability post that goes up every single Monday. They use that post to check in, not just for us. Like, I'm not going to be judging them. I don't necessarily need to know what they're accomplishing, but they want to use that post in order to check in and say, hey, this is what I did. These are the dots that I got. This is the reflection that I'm doing at the end of the week to show what I did or didn't get done, and taking time to talk over that situation and realize what it is that they can do differently moving forward. It's an accountability post, meaning nobody's judging them or what they have to share or the things that they did or didn't do. It's just a place for them to feel safe, to share, and to get encouragement if they need it. So I would highly, highly recommend to check in with yourself or a partner regularly. It makes a huge difference to have an accountability partner that you can bounce ideas off of and get some encouragement when things are difficult. Because what happens sometimes is when we are down and out, where we don't think the process through all the way, and somebody with fresh eyes can pop in and say, oh, have you tried this? And it might be the light bulb that clicks that allows you to get over the challenge that you might be stuck in, and throws you the lifeline to get out of the quicksand, right? So those are the things, you guys, I wanted to just briefly talk to you guys about today. Recognizing when things get tough, breaking the habits down even smaller if they're still too big for what you are working on. Focus on the reward, no matter how small. A dot every single day can go a long way. Remember why you started. Go back and find that internal why and determine what it is and why it is that you started that habit to begin with. Adjust when necessary and don't be afraid to start over. And the last thing, check in with yourself or partner regularly. Friends, if you are in the process of building goals, developing habits, or managing tasks and you want to use a paper planner to do it, hang out right here with Cannon Planning. I'm here every Monday for Game Plan Monday, and I will see you guys all next time.